Giddy. To Blackout, my name is Timo, and with me taking podcast, Mike, how you doing? I'm doing excellent. We were going to the popular Blue Season 1 because this past drop, Halo Infinite, we were thinking back when Halo 1 and 2 were coming. YouTube was fun. People were making out of
it's creative and fun. Yeah. About the Iraq War. Remember that?
Yeah, it was a simpler time. But Mike, this week, so maybe you can tell me of Red versus Blue.
I mean, I think Red versus Blue is a website kind of go back to and think about intensely creative. It was basically just a bunch of the components of like a multi in order to story that spanned like a number of seasons. It produced proto memes, but it was also like YouTube now is like a hot pile before you could even really affect doing things like this. The legacy of this, it's also really talk about. We're like Netflix, or we're focusing on. In this case, we're talking about like in the way that had the way a month's worth of Homestar Runner. I'm not sure.
Definitely something that would have to tell you how to search for it. Your friend's a link.
Also, because you were like, we were in high school, so explain it to everybody today, and sort of like if you were born before, like you can't be 2000, you can't drink after the year 2000. Yeah. So when did these start? 2004, 2005?
It premiered in 2003. But one thing that very quickly is that season 2 got a wild hair.
Sure.
And season 1 is comedy videos into as it increased in popularity. Originally, it was just kind of funny Halo jokes. Season 2 feels much more trying things out, and they're trying to do a narrative storyline arc. But also leads to these down pure comedy going along.
Sure.
5-minute video for that's supposed to be funny. At least a few jokes. So I came with me about it, but I was in about Red versus Blue, just like Summer. And then you go on and you realize forums and there's t-shirts, and you stumble across this whole idea that I wanted to exist. This was my first into interactive. It wasn't just like eating a thing and presented to you. This guys behind Red versus Blue were interacting with video I hadn't seen before.
Totally new. It was on the internet.
So like interactive in a way online before social media existed. If you wanted to help, you could subscribe and go to a chat forum and from the Iraq War, why blue team is better than red team between.
Yeah, and their legacy just isn't in their outreach. It was not put a web store and do like distribution. So the who produced Red versus a model, and they're like kind of like game in, an internet following about influencer.
Yeah, or content creator. And because it gets thrown around, but what that on the internet.
Right.
And that basically these guys were the first internet cartoons in the late 90s.
Sure.
Not things.
So let's go. So like animation happens, and then there's like 5 people developing a lot of different. One that we just mentioned was Homestar, of other things in Flash animation
in like the late 90s. And I was actually this the other day, and he's like, "Oh my god!" But like, you would go to E-bombs or prank phone calls and just funny pictures with later become memes. There was just like West arena of people realizing that they could be creative things, and it was just there were just like E-bombs world where it's like, well, this on E-bombs world.
Right.
Rooster Teeth did that was different. On website, they sort of like to the website with membership and all that stuff was just use video games, which would later video games to create some. And they would go into this video game and use a record you game where if you put your pistons for no reason, you're facing
So it would, if you moved, it look almost like somebody is talking.
The hands were out of the way, and by the creators of Halo, but back of a program to catch. And so popular with the creators series that they kept that glitch versus Blue could keep these. It's just a test positive, collaborative in time that they were all going.
Part of it up too, because Red versus Blue, like we're not even talking.
I know.
But another thing significant is kind of basically fan-driven, developed a relationship with and like now for there to be a relationship and consumers.
Yeah.
But there is the architecture for those types of relationships, but or Facebook or those types of things, or these types of relationships was different. I'm find its way to Halo Infinite. I mean, one of the lasting legacies in the Halo universe is Griffball, kind of a game developed was specific that became its own phenomenon. Bungie
things. They're a game type in where it was you could pick up a ball and then score it. Oh, again, because Halo Bungie were just so they gave a level editor, put a box and put 2 holes and then right in the center, and after the character Griff up, you turn orange. So like that game, swords and a box and trying to score a goal basically became super popular, and it's played at least
MTC
limited a Game Pass these days. Another like aspect of the process between this community of creators, the game development studio. I remember specifically when Halo 3, the guys behind Red vs. Blue on a whole new machine had to build the game from the bottom up. He's like, if being popping back up when the gun's gone, that's their prerogative, because error back into a new game, which was just so and cool. And they weren't having going over like, oh well, this is Bungie just was do what Bungie's gonna do, and being coerced or without eyes on the moment on social media. It was just like, yeah, let's make content that we think.
So let's content a Red versus Blue. Now, how many seasons did it end? At least 5.
So at this the other day, I think it was through season 8, either 8 seasons. I forget. They are still to a lot of it's other shows that they just kind of like vloggy, and also but the Red versus in like the storyline, since they stopped, as they called it, even some of the main characters returning as research for the Red versus, and everything is still based in a listed, so it's used to thrive. That you or I would, it seemed like at some point with it, the Blood Gulch Chronicles with Red versus Blue.
So in that, and we watched like the first season of that actual game, Halo 2 there. So you have 2 different teams that amount of time. There's that you are, and the one that pretty much the entirety of Gulch, it's a box game all sides, and it's bases. There's like a big open field, and there's a base. And basically, as the red base, there were people in that base, and then it as the blue base, and is basically that kind of like it's that their both bases are full of people bored, and they're not sure why they're there. They're boredom and various sarcastic sides.
Yeah, and it's also kind of like a meta commentary is like too strong of a word. We all play this game. Oh, we're the red team, let's kill him, we'll be the blue team, and all we want. And it was kind of a commentary and like, keep doing this.
Right.
Like, has a storyline and a plot justification for action, but the other team.
Yes.
And that's all apparently it's all we were need to be given. It kind of starts it pokes fun. It makes references to things that would currently my killing fucktard would be like something that you would hear. Oh, he killed his own teammate hard, and they brought that into the series, and just like
why is it there were a lot of like up through like kind of way into the game itself. So those things, the dialogue and the exchanges are all, so I mean, a number of different where sort of like an afterthought. Fast and Furious, that was like, oh shit, that's what I forgot.
family.
So like we watched things like that because you're basically using and you're transposing happy, and it's so
we're talking about this as season. It's compiled into like an hour,
right? Yeah,
especially early on when the funny little videos do feel a little. They're also really fun, and the movie doesn't usually. Oftentimes they'll kind of like by telling you about who characters are and what they're doing, just immediately about the and I time in that act.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way to there are over across the entirety of season 1. Each episode, you're and middle and it resolves. You have episode are thrown sort of a particular event, so there's not like things are happening and people are interacting. But that is the brevity is I think, like you said, because of the time constraints and the medium of like, but it also means that it's quicker. There's not a lot of interesting, and it grabs. I think another thing impressive to revisit is characters have very strong and distinctive person. Of versus Blue, obviously, was that team of people who are all the same. So this wasn't like Halo opponents to make yourself look the same. So how do you make people all looking the same and a group of blue people distinctive personalities and relationships?
Their polygon counts are the same character, just with different.
So one of the things that they did, and you could do this in game, is you could the tone of your blue, kind of like goofy dot. But in addition to that, obviously, faces are different and the person is different, and like that, I think the fullness of the creators challenge that had to be dealt with early on. Yeah. So different characters latch onto and identify interesting and sort of some constraints.
I think the voice work with that were just friends doing
right.
It. Fortunately, in there, guys who had distinctive and different sounding, but I don't actually at one point.
Wait, can I guess?
Toby Chris Pratt. No, I believe. Tobey Maguire.
Maguire.
Nope. I'm confused.
Elijah Wood. Elijah Wood's
played
cool.
a ghost in several seasons in season. I missed that, but
Elijah Wood's so rad. We should do a whole Elijah Wood, which
a movie.
Roger Ebert's most.
Wow. Okay.
And then Elijah Wood to make him into a Macaulay Culkin.
No, it did not.
Elijah Wood resurfaces the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and then for just been like doing blow and weird.
Yeah, he just
does some random stuff, does some blow, a little bit more blow.
I don't like do it feels good. Then he'll show up on like 2.5 years, and you're like, "Who's that guy?"
Right, it's in Community.
I believe it. Really, a gamer if he's into.
Yes, yes.
No, like we were saying, like they were fortunate to have a group like these really talented, creative writers. And yeah, I mean. The series goes spectacular places, and just in the season arc that I remember. And yeah, one of the animation studios has to go because they were animating on video with the video game changes visually with ever-changing games, and the maps change, just make it work. And that's a unique challenge in any other form or movie where, well, we got to do a different. Experience at the time and go for a season. Pointed, especially it's really well.
It's paced really
and yeah, I always said that
don't or didn't play Halo either, which are still funny.
There are more funny if you Halo like thing, you might not.
Right.
But yeah, if you've played Halo, you can explode in a second. So yeah, if it's something to revisit and aren't sure if it still holds up, and having someone animate please do what's happening in The Mandalorian, these technology to do back.
Yeah,
so
totally.
You can to Red versus Blue and what they were doing. So, since like I said that we will be debut of Halo, and I figured before we take, we've been playing the online.
We have
beta.
Yep.
Just yesterday, you had as well.
Angry at which is bullshit. Everyone else is deeply outraged. An important part of Halo, Red versus Blue, it's all culture, and hating it is doing.
Yeah.
So, fortunately, who now make Halo,
the original creators, and no longer Microsoft wasn't going to let it go to waste. So
fortunate stuff that we could all be angry. Grand legacy of making multiplayer. Traditional playlists would have supported things like Red Blue available to people play. I them to get that shit pain yet. Also, my controllers, but like out I like. Free when I'm at your place, I use your controller.
It's a newer controller.
Yeah, so new controller. But anyway,
is like there's this like and armor. You and I don't really give a shit about that. Like make our guy look cooler, but you can't see your guy when you're
at the game.
The only time I can pass my dead body, I really want to see myself because I do constantly. We've been playing the online multiplayer and having found out that player as the game of choice. You uninitiated, which team can kill faster.
Yep.
But he sucks, but
sure.
Much it.
Yeah.
Games, but it won't let you but you'll also be playing games in this oddball game. Like territories where you control of a room for a period. Those are not the games that are the way that 343 their online gameplay, and
they're assholes. It's literally killing me.
Halo went from a game that was engineer in for their community versus Blue.
No, they engineer Slayer.
name, but it sounds like they're gonna.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm glad we could end this discussion. Yeah.
Well, with that, we'll break, and we'll be right back with more. Next week, in honor of our last mainline, I got into the festive spirit and decided to watch Jingle, 1996 Christmas comedy stars Arnold Schwarzenegger and comedian Sinbad. What you may not remember is this comparable Phil Hartman. And Mike and I are very visiting this Christmas film just Viderci to 2021. Next week, Mike and I will be taking a podcast as we celebrate for the holidays. So watch Jingle all the way on Disney, and we'll join you next week, subject to Blackout. All right, Mike, that was Red vs. Blue, Halo Infinite. Speaking of toxic culture, the last time we were
right.
Cowboy Bebop is, and not in they did something.
Not like Kevin Spacey.
The classic canceled. Yeah,
so that's bullshit.
Yeah, I don't get why we wouldn't at least.
Going to find an audience and the same reviewers who are like, you're going to be like, why didn't they like? It's Firefly did, even though fuck Firefly, buddy. If you like Firefly, fuck you. You're stupid. I'm supporters of fuck you, Fireflies.
Yeah, to me it just seemed we're getting the fact that it wasn't exactly the end of doing it. If it's just gonna,
I think one of the
just don't get it.
And I have like a few feelings. Who watches as CW style shows a lot? Bone, yes, it's like everybody had like a South London. I don't give a shit. It's like Guy Ritchie shit happening. I was like, I couldn't like, all right. Great. Everyone's like fancy. Some of those are Winx. That was terrible. And that got a season 2 like after it went up.
Heard of it.
Yeah, it was terrible. It did kind of debut in the top 10 quickly. Like maybe it's a budgetary thing, like and that's to justify a particular. I mean, I think what it kind of is that traditionally that's kind of got made a splash, but is like not to at least see if it can work itself. Plenty of shows that I can think weird, kind of shaky season 1 on like Parks and Rec is a great example.
Yeah,
and the way that the characters are developed, that they retooled a lot of it into their benefit.
Yeah, because of the Office. Quickly, they found out the only way you're going to know person is if she's good at her job, and then that once they figure.
But that put a little bit of faith in them back and see what worked and what didn't. Like one of the issues with Cowboy Bebop finding an audience was that like a lot of other media right now, which are all dark affair and like position character conflict as complexity, which is rarely the same thing.
Differing, I would call the of some superhero movies where
so like, boring,
like certain aspects. It looks in a way that could works, but that looks like them. Whereas they're about that, it's pizzazz.
It's like make a live action thing. Feature an anime. I mean, I think what it does say too. There are shows on Netflix at least be given the same bandwidth to make as other. I think it would be awesome. This got picked up by Line Style.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that would not be allowed to happen. I mean, one thing that I think the show, it would have benefited from a few episodes. And I think it would have benefited something like Disney it was like an episode a week.
My three biggest problems, like the things that happened at the end.
Cool. I'm not going to watch that one. No worries. I'm not going to watch Cliffhanger.
And then, like the other two things, it has everything to do with Netflix. I think it was Mark and the assistance on Dump.
Yep.
If you 3 week, you can watch, and then you over the other 7 episodes. You're going to build word of mouth. Instead of 3 weeks already being canceled episode, and people will be like really kind of funny, and like all the characters are badass. Like, I don't know. Yes. Like, you should watch it. We're done. This show, it'll never be seen again. It's going to bury it in their algorithms. That sucks. If you're John Cho or where the premiere for this 10 hours worth of work after the cut and the edit, a week and a half ago.
Yep.
And your sense of work by doing it right, like focusing on the design, making sure the characters look and sound right. Well, not bros flamed it on.
Right.
What do you second season, you cowards?
So, and unless I'm soon for the rest of our lives.
It's on my docket. Up to date on Hawkeye.
All right.
Yes. I am up to date as a couple weeks ago. Then they got
and then
Wilson
suck it.
Finn. He still hasn't shown. I'd give my left nut that voiceover was Vincent D'Onofrio. So, also, I guess he's been dry, I should say, on his.
It's fine.
I struggled the first time. Been fine.
It's fine.
I really the mother.
Something, right? She's in a thing.
And that Jordy.
Ooh.
Which
Gravity.
years ago this past week. Yeah, she's
Batman
movies now. I don't love her. She's a bad person. They're just like, Bishop can't see that. It's like, easy, fuck you. But I do like. I have enjoyed the Mafia quite a bit. They're pretty say bro a lot. And
yeah, it's
comedy gold.
A typical Marvel amount of humor. It has the amount of diversity and inclusion, amount of self-reflexivity about being a superhero.
4. Yeah. Episode 4, you were talking about the inclusion. A minor character. Through like 2 lines is a gay police officer. Like, that's a lot. Like, diversity isn't everything. It's like, and blue lives. It's like, no, just get that. Very, very diverse character who is given 2 lines. And then the else is just white men,
not the
white
slash and death.
Yes.
It plays Echo, and by the way,
yes, she is doing a very nice.
Guess what? We have demographics. Do you like? We have. See what we have in our lot.
I got a brand new
hearing aid now.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I think
it's
better
fine.
more than I liked.
I liked WandaVision. WandaVision, Loki.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
I thought WandaVision to start for me. Those are like, okay, I get, but we've been doing a thing for got fun, and then I said this before on this podcast. The end was because I was really hoping, which is me ruining.
Oops, spoiler. Yeah,
men were coming, and yet I set my heart on it. And the Winter Soldier was
fine,
like a bed. It's just not great.
Yeah, and then Loki.
I did like Loki. I don't think it's Loki good.
It's
lower stakes.
It's fine.
I love it.
It'll get a million seasons.
Probably.
Yeah.
Kill off to introduce the X.
Tight.
I would love
the like Gambit cards of both of them killing them. So I'm gay, and then goes to black. It's canonical.
No. They say I'm Cajun. Gajin. In 2022, I'm Asian. Bit story.
Crawdads.
Bunch of shit out of
We'd watch it.
Yeah, so doing its thing this week.
Yep.
Allegedly series finale season, the final season, which is now on Amazon. One of my favorite TV shows. It's really good. The is and it's pretty fast paced. The writers of the expansion, 9 books, they knocked that shit. James S.A. Corey is a student. But they also going along with the books, from what I understand. There's a big time jump from book 6 to book 7, and doesn't want to do that. So, this is going of the and looking forward to it. I watched the first all Expanse episodes are only 6 episodes, and it's going away right when it was over from the Sci-Fi Channel. You can now kind of
as is the life cycles for like longer than 3 or 4 years.
Is that sweet spot where you're like, show can't get any better.
Yeah.
And not through anything. It's just people who sign. So it doesn't look like a cheap show. It looks expansive. They're of yet. Ignore I said that. They found if you haven't watched it, it is basically like 300 and the Martians, a group who started to terraform, very militaristic, and they a few hundred years back, dairy power in the solar system, people who are called belters, and asteroids in the belt, or some of them it's like on moons, Saturn and Jupiter and stuff. What would the social be of this sort of interplanetary human existence? And a bunch of like the Thrones, the television, it is a lot about politics and the world effects that those would have, the types of people happen in that. I highly recommend it. I believe since they bought it out from but yeah, I'm very, it's the last 6 episodes, so we should in the future or something.
Yeah, there you go. Talk about it.
All right, well, Mike, this week on subject, I'd just like to remind everyone we're going to do one more episode to be off until 2020. We'll come back. You can always head on over to where you can reach out to us for socials, including Instagram, YouTube. You can also subscribe on any of those at the Name Taking Podcast. Mike, Thank you.